censure. And then, near the end of college, I began to explore Christianity. I popped in and out of churches. I spent time with the Book of Common Prayer. I read Christian novels. In one, the second in the Mitford series by Jan Karon, the author makes clear that the unmarried characters are not having sex. Since we've never discussed it, I want to say that I really do believe in doing things the old-fashioned way when it comes to love, explained Cynthia, a 50-something divorcee, to her beau, an Episcopal priest. I do love you very dearly, and I want everything to be right and simple and good, and yes, pleasing to God. This is why I'm willing to wait for the kind of intimacy that most people favor having as soon as they've shaken hands. How quaint, I thought. Abstinence between members of the AARP. As I graduated from college and moved from New York to England for graduate school, I got pretty serious about Christianity and about Jesus. I was going to church regularly by then, praying to Jesus, thinking about him as I walked down the street, believing with a certainty that surprised me that he was who he said he was, God. I did some of the things you might expect someone who believes that Jesus is God to do. I got baptized. I started spending inordinate numbers of hours hanging around with other Christians. I read the Gospels. I prayed the Psalms. I wore a small silver cross around my neck, proclaiming to passers-by that I was part of this tribe whose allegiance was to Jesus. I knew that I was falling in love with this carpenter who had died for my sins. But there were other things that you might expect a Christian to do, and I did not do them. You might especially expect a Christian who had been an observant Jew and was therefore used to discipline, rigor, and religious authority to do these things, but still, I did not do them. I didn't forswear sex. I didn't tithe. I didn't especially enjoy going to church on Sunday mornings. In general, I had to grit my teeth, silence my alarm clock, and drag myself there. I knew dimly that Christianity didn't look kindly on premarital sex, but I couldn't have told you very much about where Christian teachings about sex came from. I did read the letters of Paul, but to tell you the whole truth, I wasn't entirely sure what fornication meant, or how much leeway I had in interpreting it. In fact, I'd never even actually heard the word fornication before reading the New Testament. It certainly wasn't common parlance among grad students at Cambridge University. I knew it had something to do with illicit sex, but I wasn't sure exactly what constituted illicit sex. Also, there was the problem of translations. What appeared as fornication in some Bibles appeared as the even more vague sexual immorality in others, which left me only with the ill-defined sense that the Christian God cared somehow about how his people ordered their sex lives. It would not have been too difficult, of course, to get more clarity on this sex issue. I could have looked up fornication in the dictionary, or I could have picked up any number of books designed to help readers just like me, new Christians, figure out the basics of Christian living. I didn't do those things for two reasons. First, sex was not immediately on my radar screen, as I hadn't met anyone I wanted to go to the movies with, much less go to bed with. Second, perhaps more important, I didn't really want to get more clarity on Christian sexual ethics because I wanted, should the opportunity arise, the option of having sex. So instead of digging deeper into the question of Christianity and sex, I settled for an easy conclusion. What God really cared about was that people not have sex that might be harmful in some way, sex that was clearly meaningless, loveless, casual. Yes, the context for sex mattered, but marriage might not be the only appropriate context. As long as everyone involved was honest, no false promises were made, no one got hurt, as long as sex was a sign of love and commitment, surely God would approve, or at least not disapprove. That seemed doable. Give up the occasional night of drunken revelry with some cute random guy you met at a party, and reserve sex for truly committed relationships. I more or less managed to abide by that. I didn't have sex